What if I told you that the most dangerous man in any room isn't the workaholic, the overachiever, or even the genius? It's the one people whisper about, the one they call lazy. He sits quietly, looks detached, almost invisible. Yet behind that silence, his mind burns with ambition, big dreams, bigger ideas, a hunger that refuses to die. Society labels him lazy, but Carl Jung saw something far more dangerous. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why women fear him, why society tries to dismiss him, and why you may recognize parts of yourself in him. Imagine this. In the same room, one man works nonstop, chasing every task, desperate to prove his worth. The other leans back, eyes half closed, untouched notebook beside him. Everyone bets on the worker. Few notice the dreamer. But when his ambition finally moves, it doesn't just change his life, it shifts the entire room. And maybe, just maybe, the fear society hides is really the shadow of this married, ambitious man, the mask of laziness. When most people hear the word lazy, they instantly picture someone who avoids responsibility, wastes time, and contributes little. It is one of the most despised labels in modern culture. We live in a society that worships productivity. People are praised for being busy, for filling every minute with tasks, for showing proof that they are constantly working. Laziness, on the other hand, is treated as a sin. It is considered weakness, failure, a lack of discipline. But what if laziness is not always what it seems? What if behind the mask of laziness hides something far more dangerous? Something that even society itself fears. Think about it. The man who appears lazy, who does not join the frantic race of overachievers, is not necessarily without ambition. In fact, the opposite may be true. He may be burning with ideas, with visions, with desires so large they cannot be contained by ordinary effort. He does not waste energy proving himself through small tasks. He holds his energy back, waiting for the right moment, for the opportunity that is big enough to unleash his full ambition. And this is what makes him unsettling, because you cannot measure his power by what he does daily. You cannot read his hunger by his schedule. He seems still, but inside the fire does not go out. Society fears this type of man because he refuses to play by the rules. Rules are built to control visible effort. Work hard, show your results, earn your status step by step. But what about the one who appears to skip these steps? What about the one who seems to sit in silence only to suddenly reveal a plan so large it changes everything? He is harder to predict, harder to control, harder to classify. And fear always grows in the shadows of what we cannot classify. Carl Jung understood this dynamic well. He spoke of the shadow, the hidden part of human nature that others cannot see yet still feel. The lazy man is often carrying this shadow. His so-called laziness is not pure absence of energy. It is a mask, a way of hiding, a form of withdrawal that protects the deeper ambition he does not want others to touch. When you look at him, you see weakness. But when his mask falls, you discover strength. And nothing terrifies people more than realizing that what they dismissed as powerless was, in truth, quietly preparing to overturn the balance of power. This is especially true when that man is married. Marriage carries expectations, stability, routine, predictability. A married man is supposed to play his role, to be consistent, to provide, to sacrifice his ambitions for the safety of the household. When such a man appears lazy, society feels reassured. He looks harmless. He looks defeated, like a man who has given up on chasing anything greater. But when ambition hides under that surface, the fear becomes sharper. Because now his desire is not only personal, it touches others. It threatens to break the structures that depend on his stillness. His wife, his family, his community all expect him to stay where he is. Yet inside he imagines more. He dreams of escape. He longs to shake the ground beneath him. His laziness is the camouflage for a deeper danger, the possibility of sudden change. Why does society fear him? Because change does not come from the predictable worker who clocks in every morning. It comes from the silent one, the overlooked one, the man no one expects to rise. History is full of such figures, men who were mocked as dreamers, who appeared lazy to the eyes of their neighbors but who carried ambition too large to suppress forever. When they finally moved, they did not simply add another stone to the wall. They tore down the wall itself. And once the wall falls, everyone who once laughed at them must face the truth. The lazy man was never lazy at all. He was patient. He was dangerous. He was waiting. This is the mask of laziness, a disguise that keeps ambition hidden until the right time. And while most will continue to believe that effort always shows itself in constant motion, those who understand the shadow know better. They know that some men terrify not because of what they are doing now, but because of what they are capable of doing when the moment arrives. And it is this uncertainty, this inability to measure the true size of his hunger, that makes society tremble before the married, ambitious man who wears the mask of laziness. The married man's hidden fire. On the surface, the married man seems stable, settled, predictable. He has a home, a routine, and a set of responsibilities that appear to anchor him in place. To the outside world, his life looks complete. He has chosen his path and there is no turning back. Yet within this apparent calm lies a different reality, a hidden fire that refuses to go out. Ambition does not die simply because vows were made or routines were established. In fact, for many married men, ambition grows stronger in silence, pressing against the walls of their daily life like a flame searching for oxygen. And this hidden fire is precisely what society prefers not to see. Marriage is often portrayed as the end of personal risk. Once a man is married, people expect him to settle, to stop chasing big dreams, to pour his energy into maintaining what already exists. He becomes a provider, a protector, a predictable part of the social fabric. Ambition is supposed to give way to duty, but ambition does not surrender so easily. In the depths of a married man's heart, there can live a hunger that no routine can satisfy. It may look like laziness from the outside, but within it is pressure building. The fire smolders, waiting for an opening to break through. This is what creates the paradox. A married man who acts lazy is easily dismissed. People assume he has given up, that his best days are behind him, that he has no energy left to shape the world. But what they do not realize is that he may be conserving his energy, storing it for a strike that no one sees coming. Like a volcano that sleeps for decades, he appears harmless until the ground shakes beneath him, and when it happens, the eruption can destroy the very structures that were built on his supposed stillness. Carl Jung often spoke about the tension between what society expects and what the individual secretly desires. This tension is sharper in marriage than almost anywhere else. A man is expected to present himself as reliable, stable, controlled, yet his inner world may be alive with fantasies of power, achievement, and escape. The contrast between the mask he wears and the fire he hides can be unbearable. If he shows it too openly, he risks judgment, rejection, even collapse of the stability around him. If he hides it too deeply, the fire consumes him from the inside. This conflict between outer duty and inner ambition creates the very fear society senses, the fear that at any moment the balance could break, and women feel this fear even more strongly. A woman can sense when her husband carries an untamed fire beneath the surface. On one hand, it can be magnetic. Ambition is attractive. It signals strength, vitality, the potential for greatness. On the other hand, it is terrifying, because ambition that is hidden, ambition that is masked as laziness, is unpredictable. It could build a future or it could burn everything down. A woman standing next to such a man never feels entirely secure. She knows he is not fully contained by the life he is living. His silence, his stillness, his so-called laziness all conceal a hunger that might one day pull him away from her or from the family they built together. Society, too, feels threatened by this hidden fire. Systems rely on predictability. Employers, communities, even families function best when people play their assigned roles. The married man who appears lazy reassures everyone. They think he has been tamed, that his ambition has been extinguished. But when his fire shows itself, it challenges the system. Suddenly, he is no longer reliable. He may quit his job, leave his town, start something radical, or make choices that disrupt the flow everyone counted on. In this sense, his hidden fire is not just personal. It is revolutionary. This is why society prefers ambition it can see. The workaholic, the overachiever, the tireless genius, they may intimidate, but they are safe because they are predictable. Their energy is visible, their path is measurable. You know where they are going. But the married man who looks lazy? He is the most dangerous, because you cannot calculate when or how his fire will ignite. He hides in plain sight, underestimated by everyone, until his ambition finds its moment. And by then it is too late to prepare. The hidden fire of the married man is not weakness. It is not failure. It is potential energy waiting to be unleashed. And once it does not move quietly. It shakes lives, relationships, and even societies. This is why he is feared. Because under the mask of laziness, under the cloak of marriage, under the weight of expectations, he is still burning. And no one can predict what will happen when that fire finally consumes the silence around him. If you want to understand even deeper how Jung's psychology reveals the hidden forces shaping your life, I left a link to the Jung method in the first comment. It's a powerful guide that can open your eyes to what lies in your own shadow. Why ambition in silence scares society. When ambition is loud, society knows how to handle it. The man who works day and night, who speaks endlessly of his goals, who constantly proves his value through visible effort. He may intimidate, but he does not frighten. His energy is out in the open, easy to measure, easy to categorize. You can see his limits. You can predict his next move. He becomes a competitor, someone to admire or envy, but never a mystery. But ambition in silence is different. The man who hides his hunger, who does not display his drive for the world to see, creates a tension that unsettles everyone around him. He does not announce his plans, he does not beg for recognition. He does not prove himself through constant activity. Instead, he waits, conserving energy, guarding his ideas, masking his fire with stillness. To the untrained eye, he looks lazy, indifferent, even weak. Yet deep inside, ambition burns. Ambition that is invisible, unmeasured, and therefore uncontrollable. And it is this invisibility that makes society afraid. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious exerts more influence over people than the conscious ever could. What is hidden has more power than what is exposed. The silent man embodies this truth. His ambition is unconscious to others, and so it carries a mysterious weight. People cannot see it, but they feel it. They sense something unusual in his stillness, something dangerous in his refusal to compete in the open arena. He is not playing the same game, and that terrifies those who are. Society depends on transparency. Systems are built on measurable output, visible productivity, and constant proof of effort. Silence breaks this pattern. Silence introduces doubt. How do you judge someone who is not showing their hand? How do you measure a man who refuses to run the race everyone else is in? The fear comes not from what he does, but from the fact that you cannot know what he might do. Predictability is safety. Ambiguity is threat. And the silent, ambitious man embodies ambiguity. Consider the difference between noise and quiet in any group. The loud one, the one who dominates conversation, may attract attention, but he also reveals himself. His strengths and weaknesses are on display. People know how to approach him, how to respond to him, how to limit him. But the quiet one? He unsettles. His silence leaves space for imagination. Others project their fears onto him. They wonder what he thinks, what he wants, what he hides. In this vacuum of information, suspicion grows. The same dynamic occurs with ambition. The loud worker is predictable. The silent dreamer is not. Women often feel this unease more sharply. A man who constantly shows his ambition may seem exhausting, but at least his desires are known. A man who hides his ambition under a mask of laziness is harder to read. He seems detached, but in truth he is scanning, imagining, preparing. He may not reveal his hunger until it is too late. For a woman, this unpredictability can be magnetic and terrifying. The sense that he holds something back, that he carries an energy not yet revealed, creates both attraction and fear. She may feel drawn to his mystery, yet anxious about the power it conceals. Society as a whole mirrors this reaction. Governments, workplaces, communities prefer men who declare their ambition openly. They can be managed, rewarded, or restrained. But the silent, ambitious man resists management. He can sit quietly for years, all the while cultivating an idea that could disrupt the very order that dismisses him. His silence protects him and it threatens others, because once he acts, it is too late to stop him. His ambition, hidden for so long, erupts with the force of years of stored energy. This is why silence and ambition together create fear. Not because ambition itself is dangerous. Society actually encourages ambition when it is visible. But because hidden ambition is unpredictable. It cannot be monitored. It cannot be contained. It belongs not to the rules of society, but to the shadows Jung described. And the shadow, once ignored, does not simply disappear. It grows, becoming stronger, more demanding, until it bursts into the light in ways no one expected. So the man who appears lazy, who seems unmotivated, may actually be carrying the most dangerous ambition of all, the kind that society cannot see, cannot measure, cannot control. And that is why ambition in silence does not just disturb, it terrifies. Because silence is the one place where ambition becomes untouchable. and where fear grows in everyone else who tries to understand it. The shadow Jung warned about. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries a shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves we deny, repress, or refuse to face. It is not simply darkness or evil, but everything unacknowledged, hidden desires, suppressed emotions, untapped strengths, and dangerous ambitions. The shadow grows stronger the longer it remains ignored. Jung taught that when we fail to confront it consciously, it controls us unconsciously, and in the case of the so-called lazy, ambitious man, his entire life becomes the stage where this shadow reveals itself. Society calls him lazy because he does not display his ambition in visible ways. He does not join the endless race of overachievers. He does not strive openly, shouting his goals to the world. Instead, he carries his hunger in silence. This is his shadow, ambition hidden beneath stillness. The world mistakes it for weakness, but Jung knew better. He warned that what is repressed in one's character does not disappear. It waits. It waits in the dark, gathering strength until it bursts forth in ways no one expects. Think of how unsettling this is. A man dismissed as lazy, overlooked by his peers, doubted by his family, maybe carrying ambitions greater than all of them combined. They think they know him. They believe he has no fire left. But his shadow knows the truth. His shadow contains every desire he has silenced, every plan he has hidden, every dream he has buried under the weight of expectation. And when the shadow speaks, it does not whisper, it erupts. The married man embodies this paradox in an even sharper way. Marriage demands stability, predictability, responsibility. These values are at odds with the wild nature of the shadow. Yet the shadow does not vanish when vows are made. Instead, it goes underground, cloaked more deeply in silence. Outwardly, he may look like the perfect husband, quiet, reliable, maybe even lazy. But inside, the shadow stirs. It feeds on the tension between who he must be and who he secretly is. And the longer he plays the role of stability, the more violently the shadow longs to break free. Jung warned that ignoring the shadow leads to projection. People see in others what they refuse to admit in themselves. Society projects laziness onto this man because it does not want to admit the truth. Ambition can exist without constant motion. Power can exist without noise. The married, ambitious man becomes a mirror of the collective shadow, the fear that someone could change the game without warning. Society fears him because he reflects the truth it does not want to face. He shows that control is an illusion, that order is fragile, that silence hides forces no system can contain. Women, too, sense this shadow. They feel it in the stillness of their husbands, in the silence that seems harmless but carries weight. Some are drawn to it, intoxicated by the mystery. Others are repelled, uneasy with the unpredictability it implies. Either way, the shadow is felt. It shapes relationships, often without words. The woman may not know exactly what he hides, but she knows he hides something. His laziness becomes a veil behind which his ambition breathes. And the tension of that hidden fire changes the dynamic of intimacy. The danger Jung spoke of was not that the shadow exists, it always does, but that most people never integrate it. The lazy, ambitious man resists integration by pretending his hunger is gone, by letting others believe he has no drive. But this denial only feeds the shadow. When it finally breaks out, it does so destructively. He may abandon everything suddenly, his job, his marriage, his responsibilities. He may pursue an ambition so recklessly that it destroys the stability he once seemed to protect. And this unpredictability is why he terrifies both his family and society. But there is another possibility. If he faces his shadow, if he admits that his laziness is only a mask and his ambition is real, then the hidden fire can be directed, harnessed, even transformed into creation instead of destruction. This is what Jung urged, to bring the shadow into the light, to integrate rather than deny. The married, ambitious man who does this does not lose his danger. He becomes even more powerful, but in a conscious way. He knows what he wants, and he no longer hides behind laziness. He becomes clear, decisive, unstoppable. The question then is whether this man will remain trapped in denial, or whether he will face the shadow Jung warned about. Society hopes he stays lazy, because his hidden fire threatens its order. But if he listens to his shadow and claims it as his own, he can no longer be ignored. He steps into his true strength, and at that moment, the fear others feel is not a misunderstanding anymore. It is recognition. They finally see him for what he is. Not lazy, not weak, but a man whose ambition, once hidden in shadow, is now free to change everything. The fear women don't speak about. Women have always carried a unique sensitivity to the hidden currents of male ambition. They may not always name it, but they feel it. A woman can sense when a man's silence hides more than indifference. She knows when his laziness is not genuine idleness, but a mask covering something deeper. And it is this unspoken awareness that creates a kind of fear. A fear rarely admitted aloud, but one that lingers in the background of her relationship with the married ambitious man. At first glance, such a man does not look threatening. He is not the loud competitor, not the restless worker, not the one who constantly demands recognition. He may look detached, passive, even safe. For some women, this passivity feels comforting. They believe he has been tamed by routine, that marriage has softened his edges, that his laziness means he will not chase danger or risk their stability. But under the surface, she senses something else. She feels the fire he keeps hidden, the hunger he does not show. And while part of her may admire this, another part grows uneasy. Why does this hidden ambition create fear? Because it is unpredictable. A man who reveals his goals openly can be understood. She can calculate the cost of his dreams, measure the risks, prepare herself for what lies ahead. But a man who hides his ambition under the mask of laziness is harder to read. He could be dreaming of something small, or he could be carrying a vision so large it threatens everything they built together. His silence leaves her guessing, and in that uncertainty grows a silent fear. Carl Jung wrote often about projection, how we see in others what we do not face in ourselves. For women, the married ambitious man becomes a projection screen for both attraction and fear. She sees in him the possibility of greatness, of bold moves, of power that refuses to die. But she also sees the danger that this power might turn against her. She wonders, if his ambition wakes up fully, will I still be part of his vision? Or will I become one more thing he must escape to pursue it? This fear is rarely spoken. It may show up in small ways, in questions about his plans, in subtle anxiety when he withdraws into silence, in tension when he seems distant. But deep down it is more profound. It is the fear of losing control over the relationship, the fear that his inner fire will one day demand a sacrifice she is not prepared to give. Women often do not speak about this because it conflicts with the roles society expects them to play. They are supposed to support, to nurture, to trust. To admit fear of a man's ambition, especially when he looks lazy on the surface, feels almost absurd. And yet the fear remains. In intimacy, this creates a paradoxical attraction. Women are drawn to men who carry mystery. A man who hides his ambition under a mask of laziness becomes intriguing, magnetic. He is not like the others. He does not exhaust himself proving his worth in the open, but she feels that he carries something powerful within. This mystery excites her even as it unsettles her. She cannot help but wonder what he is hiding, and that curiosity binds her to him. Yet the more she senses the fire, the more the fear grows alongside it. This is why relationships with such men are often filled with both passion and unease. His wife may love his calm surface, but she also feels the tension of what lies beneath. She may admire his dreams when he shares glimpses of them, but she fears what it would mean if he truly pursued them. She may want him to rise, but she worries about what she would lose if he does. This contradiction is rarely spoken aloud, but it shapes the relationship in powerful ways. For society at large, this same dynamic repeats. Women mirror the collective fear, admiration mixed with unease, curiosity mixed with anxiety. The married, ambitious man becomes the embodiment of the unknown. He is not contained by the visible order, and that means his next move could shift the entire balance. The fear women do not speak about is not simply fear of the man himself, but of what he represents, the unpredictable power of hidden ambition. It is the fear that the life she believes is stable could be overturned in a moment, that the man she thought she understood could become someone entirely different. And perhaps the deepest fear is this, that she herself is drawn to that possibility, that she both wants and fears the man who hides fire under the mask of laziness. The threat to the overachiever. In every society, overachievers are celebrated. They are the ones who stay late at the office, the ones who fill their calendars with endless tasks, the ones who cannot rest until they have accomplished something visible. Their energy is obvious, their ambition loud. They look like the engines of progress, the proof of discipline, the heroes of productivity. And because of this, they feel secure. They believe their constant effort protects them from being overtaken. But there is one figure they cannot ignore, one figure who unsettles them more than any competitor, the married, ambitious man who wears the mask of laziness. Why is he such a threat? Because he does not play the same game. The overachiever competes in daylight, proving himself every hour, showing his progress in numbers and tasks. He burns his energy in public. The married, ambitious man conserves his. He is not busy for the sake of being busy. He does not chase small wins to gain validation. His silence and apparent laziness hide a reservoir of energy that he does not waste. And that is what terrifies the overachiever. He senses that behind this mask lies something stronger, something that cannot be measured by the same standards. Carl Jung taught that what we repress in ourselves, we envy or fear in others. The overachiever, who cannot stop working, secretly envies the man who dares to look lazy. He envies the freedom, the control, the ability to wait. But because he cannot admit this envy, he turns it into fear. He tells himself that the lazy man is dangerous, unreliable, a failure. Yet deep inside, he knows there is more. He knows that ambition hidden in silence carries a weight that constant activity never achieves. And it is this weight, this mystery, that unsettles him. Think of how battles are won. Not always by the loudest army, not always by the one that marches daily in plain sight. Often it is the force that waits in silence, conserving strength, striking only when the moment is right, that wins the war. The overachiever spends his energy proving himself. The married, ambitious man holds his energy back until it matters most. When he finally acts, his impact is greater, sharper, more disruptive. This imbalance is what the overachiever fears most. Marriage amplifies this fear. A married man is supposed to be predictable, drained by responsibility, softened by routine. When he looks lazy, society assumes he has surrendered. The overachiever feels safe next to him, confident that he will never rise, never compete, never change the game. But when that same man carries ambition beneath the surface, everything changes. Suddenly, he is not predictable. He is not harmless. He is the storm no one saw coming. And for the overachiever who relies on predictability, this is unbearable. Women often see this dynamic play out between men. The visible worker despises the quiet dreamer. He mocks him, calls him lazy, dismisses him. But underneath the mockery is fear. Fear that one day the silent man will reveal a vision so powerful that all the visible effort looks small in comparison. Women sense this tension. They know the overachiever does not simply dislike the lazy, ambitious man. He fears him. He fears being overshadowed by someone who conserved his strength, someone who dared to wait. Jung warned that power does not always belong to the ones who are loudest. True power belongs to those who integrate their shadow, who know when to hide and when to reveal, who are not slaves to constant proof. The married, ambitious man who hides behind laziness embodies this. He frightens the overachiever because he represents freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of visible effort, freedom from society's demand to always perform. His silence says, "I do not need to prove myself on your terms. I will act on my own." And nothing threatens the overachiever more than the man who refuses to play by the same rules. This is why society elevates the overachiever and mocks the lazy. It wants to keep power in the hands of the predictable. It wants everyone to believe that only constant effort creates results. But in truth, the real threat comes from those who wait, who conserve, who hide their fire until the right time. The married, ambitious man, dismissed as lazy, carries within him the ability to overturn the entire system with a single decisive move. And that is why the overachiever fears him. Because deep down, he knows that all his visible effort might one day be eclipsed by the silence he once mocked. When laziness becomes power. From childhood, we are taught that laziness is weakness. It is the opposite of discipline, the mark of failure, the sign that someone will never achieve anything meaningful. But what if this belief is only half the truth? What if laziness under certain conditions is not weakness at all, but a hidden source of power? The married, ambitious man embodies this paradox. To society, he looks inactive, detached, unmotivated. But his so-called laziness may not be laziness at all. It may be strategy, silence, patience. And in time, it becomes power. Consider the difference between constant motion and deliberate stillness. The man who works without pause spends his energy in small pieces every day. He proves himself endlessly, but each proof drains him. He is busy, but often without direction. The man who appears lazy conserves his strength. He does not run every race, he does not fight every battle, he does not waste his fire on tasks that lead nowhere. Instead, he waits, observes, and protects his energy until the right moment. His silence builds pressure. His stillness gathers strength. And when he finally moves, the impact is greater than years of small efforts combined. This is when laziness becomes power. Carl Jung would say that society projects its own fear onto this man. People call him lazy not because he lacks ambition, but because his ambition is hidden from them. They do not see the daily grind, so they assume there is nothing underneath. Yet they feel uneasy around him. Something about his stillness unsettles them. They sense that he is not truly idle, that he carries something they cannot measure, and what cannot be measured cannot be controlled. That is why society fears him. Marriage makes this paradox even sharper. A married man is expected to be reliable, productive, predictable. If he looks lazy, everyone assumes he has surrendered to routine, that his ambition is gone. But in truth, his apparent laziness may be the camouflage of something greater. While others believe he is finished, he is storing energy for a transformation no one expects. His wife, his family, his community may all assume they know him. Yet when his ambition awakens, they realize they never truly did. Women, especially, feel the double edge of this dynamic. On one side, laziness looks safe. A lazy man does not chase danger, does not disrupt stability, does not exhaust himself in restless motion. But on the other side, when laziness hides ambition, it becomes unpredictable. She feels the fire beneath the silence, the hunger beneath the mask. And this mixture of calm surface and hidden power both attracts and terrifies her, because she knows that when he finally acts, his decision will not be small. It will be life-changing. The overachiever, too, feels threatened by this transformation. He spends years proving himself, but the lazy, ambitious man may overtake him in a single decisive move. This is why he mocks the silent man, why he calls him weak. He wants to believe laziness is failure, but deep down, he fears the truth. That laziness, when combined with ambition, becomes the strongest form of patience. And patience, when released, can achieve in one stroke what years of constant effort never could. Jung warned that the shadow always hides in the places society rejects. Laziness is one of those places. It is treated as shameful, unworthy, something to avoid at all costs. But inside the shadow lies power. The married, ambitious man shows us this truth. His laziness is not absence, it is concealment. It hides the force he does not want others to see until the time is right. And when he finally acts, his laziness is revealed for what it truly was, a strategy of power. History remembers not the ones who were constantly busy, but the ones who changed the course of events in a single move. And often, those were the ones no one expected, the ones dismissed as lazy, unmotivated, finished. The silence fooled everyone. The stillness hid the fire. And then in one decisive act, everything shifted. This is why laziness should never be underestimated. It may be the most dangerous disguise ambition can wear. So when does laziness become power? When it hides ambition that refuses to die. When it conserves strength instead of wasting it. When it waits until the exact moment to strike. This is the married, ambitious man society fears. Not because he is weak, but because his weakness is only a mask. And once he chooses to remove it, the power he reveals is enough to terrify everyone who once laughed at him. The dangerous legacy of the married, ambitious man. Every man leaves behind a legacy, whether he intends to or not. Some are remembered for their relentless effort, their endless striving, their visible achievements. Others are remembered for their failures, their inability to rise, their lives marked by wasted time. But the married, ambitious man who hides behind the mask of laziness leaves behind a different kind of legacy, one that society whispers about long after he is gone. His legacy is dangerous not because it is always destructive, but because it unsettles the order people trusted. It proves that what they dismissed as weakness was in fact a hidden strength, a silent fire waiting for its moment. Throughout his life, this man lives in contradiction. Outwardly, he is underestimated. Friends may call him unmotivated. Colleagues may dismiss him. Even his family may believe he has settled into mediocrity. But beneath that mask, ambition grows in silence. He carries ideas too large to be spoken every day. He holds desires too sharp to be confessed casually. His laziness, whether intentional or not, becomes a veil that hides his true force. And when it finally emerges, it often changes the shape of everything around him. The legacy of such a man is frightening because it challenges the logic of society. Society tells us that success comes only from constant effort, from visible discipline, from long hours of work that everyone can see. But when a man who seemed lazy suddenly changes the world with one decisive act, the myth is shattered. People realize that effort is not always visible, that ambition does not always announce itself, that power often hides where no one is looking. His life becomes a reminder that control is fragile, that order can be overturned by the quietest figure in the room. For women, the legacy is even more personal. To his wife, to his partner, to those who lived closest to him, his laziness may have seemed frustrating, even disappointing. Yet when his ambition finally erupted, whether in creation or destruction, it left marks that could never be erased. He might have built something extraordinary that lifted them all, or he might have walked away to pursue dreams that tore the family apart. Either way, his hidden fire ensured that he could never be entirely predictable, and that unpredictability lingers even after he is gone. The memory of living beside him is always mixed, part admiration, part fear, part unresolved question of who he really was. Carl Jung would say, "This is the work of the shadow." The shadow leaves its mark not only on the individual but on those who surround him. The married, ambitious man's shadow is remembered because it exposes what others prefer to deny in themselves. It shows that silence can be louder than noise, that laziness can conceal dangerous ambition, that the ordinary roles of life cannot bury the extraordinary hunger of the soul. His legacy is dangerous because it refuses to let others rest in their illusions. It reminds them that power often hides behind masks, and that those masks can fall without warning. The overachievers who once mocked him may feel a sting when his vision outlives their constant effort. Society that once dismissed him must adjust its narrative to include the inconvenient truth that the most transformative figures are often the ones least expected. And the women who feared him in silence will never forget the way his presence made them question both their safety and their desire. This is why his legacy endures. It is not only about what he did, but about what he represented: the hidden, the unpredictable, the force that cannot be contained. In the end, the dangerous legacy of the married, ambitious man is a lesson. It is a lesson that what looks like weakness may hold the seed of strength, that what is mocked as laziness may in fact be the patience of ambition, that silence may carry the loudest fire of all. And it is a reminder to each of us that behind every mask there lies a shadow, and within every shadow, there is power waiting to be revealed. And perhaps the most unsettling thought of all is this: maybe you are that man. Maybe you carry a fire no one else sees, hidden beneath your own mask of stillness. The question is not whether society fears you. The question is what you will do when you finally decide to reveal the power they never believed you had.